I'd like to talk about threads. Remember that movie, A Beautiful Mind? There's a scene where there's threads everywhere, connecting everything, trying to make the connection between all those events. Even though he was a little crazy, the crazy part turns out to be dead on right. There are, in fact, threads, connective tissue that will determine to some degree or another how your professional life turns out. I can offer up some proof. I joined the Richards Group in 1985. Ancient times. No cell phones, no personal computing, cathode ray TVs, social media was letters to the editor, just as cranky as Twitter, but with more eloquence. But that's a whole other subject for another time. Things were about to get sparky. At that time, we were a pretty good regional agency with a national reputation for design and art direction. Little known fact, Stan did the opening credits to Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. Years later, Robert Redford remembered that and agreed to voice over a film when we presented for the Porsche business. A thread. The CMO at the time didn't pick us, but remembered us when he had a new role at Hyundai, which led to a 6-year relationship. A major relaunch of the Hyundai brand that led to record sales. Another thread. Then they decided to go in-house. But the thread was still good. A few years later, Ram called, then Fiat, then Alfa, then Jeep. Threads all. Back in the days when there were only 2 wireless companies in every market, the incumbent Baby Bell and the startup, we got hired by the startup. We kicked the Baby Bell's butt. A fellow named Craig McCaw heard about us and hired us to launch Cellular One nationally. Another thread. He had this idea that your telephone number should follow you wherever you go. Before Craig, it didn't. The idea was so good, AT&T bought Cellular One for billions, when billions was real money. We got to launch AT&T Wireless, a thread. But then someone inside AT&T decided we weren't big enough or national enough and they needed a New York shop. It could have broken the thread, but it didn't. Some of the old Cellular One guys and gals who didn't fit in at AT&T went out on their own, launched their first digital wireless company. They fired the New York agency and hired us. The thread was back. It was so successful, it was divided up by Verizon and Singular, but they both had their own agencies. There was a fellow again who had seen our work, starting a new wireless company that would change everything. One more thread. We launched the most successful prepay wireless brand in the US. We've literally been the beneficiary of hundreds of threads like that. The point is, every opportunity you have, you need to grab onto and give it everything you've got. Create your own threads. If you do, you'll get to do great work on a big stage and maybe change a world or two along the way. So, start making threads.